Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Armageddon. Today we're going to be featuring a Brawl deck with Torbran, Thane of Red Fell as our commander as part of our series of Brawl videos featuring commanders from Throne of Eldraine. While Throne of Eldraine was in Standard, many mono-red decks ran a copy or two of Torbran. Torbran is a powerful commander because as long as you have other creatures or other ways to deal damage, he has an immediate impact. What Torbran does as a commander is simple. As long as Torbran is in play, red sources we control deal an additional 2 damage to opponents or to their permanents. Now there are many ways to build a Torbran deck, and how I've built it is to combine aggressive creatures with value-oriented spells and include a few other ways to increase how much damage our creatures, spells, and other effects do. I've broken the deck down into different categories, and first we have our ramp artifacts. If we can play a ramp artifact on turn 2, we can play Torbran as early as turn 3, and the earlier Torbran is in play the better, so we are obviously playing all of the 2-mana ramp artifacts available on Arena. Arcane Signet, Cold Steel Heart, Guardian Idol, Mind Stone, the Iron Crag, and the new Ruby Medallion and Solar Transformer from Modern Horizons 3. At 3 mana, we're also playing Hazoret's Monument, which discounts our creatures and gives us some card selection. We also have Heraldic Banner to pump our creatures, and Phial of Galadriel, which can draw us an additional card if we draw a card while empty-handed. We have other ways to get additional mana as well. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer creates treasure tokens when he hits the opponent, as well as exiling the top card of their library, which we can cast until end of turn. Note that we can't play lands off Ragavan's ability. The new Brazen Collector from Bloomborough adds a red mana when it attacks, and with First Strike pairs excellently with Torbran. Runaway Steamkin gets +1/+1 counters every time we cast a red spell to a maximum of 3, at which point we can remove the counters and add 3 red mana. Birgi, God of Storytelling, adds 1 red mana every time we cast a spell, and if we don't need her for mana acceleration, she can be played as Harnfell, Horn of Bounty, for card advantage. Captain Lannery Store makes a treasure when she attacks, and can attack right away with haste. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, does it all, and belongs in several different categories all at once. She ramps, provides card advantage or consistent source of damage, and acts as removal, and her ultimate is game-winning as well. Finally, Goldspan Dragon makes a treasure when it attacks or is the target of a spell, and while it is in play, doubles how much mana our treasures produce. We're not playing a lot of burn spells, as we have other ways to deal damage than attacking the opponent if there is a board stall. We do have some removal, all of which is obviously much better with Torbran in play. And the Festivities and Tectonic Hazard deal 1 damage to the opponent and all their creatures, or 3 damage with Torbran in play, which can make them 1-mana sweepers. Goblin Chain Whirler at 3 mana has the same effect on a 3/3 body with First Strike. Bone Crusher Giant has the Stomp Adventure, which deals 2 damage to any target, and it can later be played as a creature that deals damage when it is targeted by a spell. Toralf's Disciple can attack right away, and whenever it attacks, it conjures 4 copies of Lightning Bolt and shuffles them into our library. Finally, Glorybringer can be exerted when it attacks to deal 4 damage to any creature that isn't a dragon. Next, we have ways of dealing incidental damage, usually to the opponent, but sometimes to both players, although the damage dealt will be asymmetrical with Torbran in play. Cemetery Gatekeeper has First Strike and exiles a card from a graveyard when it enters, and deals 2 damage to either player if they play a land or spell that shares a card type with the card exiled with it. Also at 2 mana, Curse of Shaken Faith damages the opponent if they cast more than 1 spell per turn or copy a spell, while Roiling Vortex deals 1 damage to each player at the beginning of their upkeep and has an activated ability to prevent the opponent from gaining life. Eidolon of the Great Revel deals 2 damage to each player whenever they cast cheap spells. At 3 mana, Fires of Mount Doom is removal when it enters, and has an activated ability that provides card advantage and damages both players when spells are cast from exile with it. The new Hearthborn Battler from Bloomborough damages the opponent whenever either player plays 2 or more spells each turn. Defiler of Instinct lets us spend Phyrexian mana to cast red permanent spells, and deals 1 damage to any target when we do. Hellrider deals 1 damage to a player or planeswalker for each attacking creature. And finally, when Assembling Alphas is blocked, it deals 3 damage to the creature blocking it, and 3 damage to that creature's controller. We have a number of cards that provide card advantage in the form of exiling cards from the top of our library, which we can play or cast until the end of our turn. Felden, Ronom Excavator exiles a number of cards equal to how much damage he has dealt, and lets us choose one of them to play. Inti, Seneschal of the Sun, gives a +1/+1 counter and trample to an attacking creature if we discard a card, and exiles cards whenever we discard cards. Moria Marauder exiles cards if it damages the opponent, and with double strike that means it usually exiles 2 cards each turn. Breaches, Eager Pillager, triggers for each pirate we control that attacks, and we can choose between creating a treasure, preventing a creature from blocking, or exiling the top card of our library so that we can cast it this turn. Lelia, the Blade Reforged, exiles cards when she attacks, and gets +1/+1 counters whenever cards are exiled from our library or our graveyard. Valakut Exploration exiles cards with landfall, and deals damage to the opponent if we don't play them. If we untap with Bonehorde Dracosaur, we exile 2 cards and can create treasure and dinosaur tokens, while when the new Dragonhawk Fate's Tempest from Bloomborough enters or attacks, it exiles cards equal to the number of creatures we control with 4 or more power, and damages the opponent for each such card that remains exiled at end of turn. We have other forms of card advantage as well. Connecting the Dots can refresh our hand in the late game as long as we're attacking with creatures, while Rahilda, Wanted Cutthroat, Robber of the Rich, and Kamachal, Ship's Mascot, all steal cards from the opponent. Sin Prodder lets us either put an extra card in our hand at the start of our turn, or deal damage to the opponent equal to that card's mana value if the opponent chooses to put that card in the graveyard. Finally, Experimental Frenzy lets us play lands and cast spells off the top of our deck, although we can't play cards from our hand. Next, we have ways of increasing how much damage we do, either with our creatures or in general. Goblin Oriflamme buffs attacking creatures. Rising of the Day gives all our creatures haste and buffs legendary creatures, of which we have several in the deck. Embercleave can be cast for cheap the more creatures we attack with, and can sometimes win the game on the spot by giving the creature it equips +1/+1, double strike, and trample. Our ways of increasing how much damage our spells and effects do other than Torbran include the enchantment Mechanized Warfare, which increases the damage red sources deal by 1. There's also the enchantment Fiery Emancipation, which triples the damage we do, and Angrass Marauders, which doubles damage. Our final category consists of strong, aggressive creatures. Kumano Faces Kakuzan is a powerful 1-drop which eventually transforms into Etching of Kumano, a 2/2 with haste, while Phoenix Chick is an evasive threat that can be recurred from the graveyard. We have to discard a card when we cast Blood Rage Brawler, but it is a 4/3 for only 2 mana. When Karizev's Skyship Raider attacks, she creates a creature token version of Ragavan that's also attacking. Karlach, Raging Tiefling, can be specialized out of the graveyard, while Giant Cindermaw is above rate. Finally, there's Anax, Hardened in the Forge, whose power is equal to our devotion to red, and who creates satyr tokens that can't block when our creatures die. Our mana base has a lot of basic mountains, as well as Fabled Passage and Prismatic Vista to search for them and thin out the deck. We also have Arena of Glory, which can be exerted to give a creature haste, while Castle Embereth can pump our creature's power. Den of the Bugbear is a creature land that creates attacking goblin tokens when it attacks, while Dwarven Mine creates a dwarf token if we have enough other mountains in play. Gate to Tumbledown can seek a non-land card later in the game, while Mines of Moria can create treasure tokens. Sokenzin, Crucible of Defiance, can be channeled to create 2/1/1 spirit tokens, although these aren't buffed by Torbran. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, can generate extra mana, while Plaza of Heroes and Tyrite Sanctum can protect Torbran, who is, as you can imagine, a magnet for removal. So that's our Torbran deck. Now it's time to take it into the queue and play some games. On the play, Atali Primal Conqueror. This could be a difficult matchup. Guardian Idol does let us play Torbran on 3. And then on 4, I can play Breaches and Connecting the Dots. So I think we'll keep this. I don't have removal for Atali, so once opponent resolves Atali, we could be in trouble. But on the other hand, Breaches can make it so that opponent can't block with Atali. Opponent plays Shadow Spear, we draw land. Now if opponent doesn't ramp Atali out, opponent says, oops. Doesn't have a play. Alright, so I think we play Torbran. So no 2-mana ramp for opponent, that's good. Opponent plays a tap land, and it's another green source. So they were obviously holding up Shadow Spear. So that might still be all they can do is activate Shadow Spear's activated ability to make my opponents lose Hexproof and Indestructible. Not that I have any permanents with Hexproof and Indestructible. So we'll play Fabled Passage, thin out the deck. I've been drawing a fair amount of lands. And then Breaches does more damage. So I think we'll play Breaches first. Opponent takes 4. Oh, I should have played Connecting the Dots first main to trigger off Torbran. I would have had exiled a card with it. Opponent finally hits red. Alright, there's the ramp. I was expecting that sooner. Alright, so that means that with a land Opponent can play Italy next turn. And then I think... Oh, I shouldn't have played land in case I exile land off breaches. I think we're good for mana, so I think I exile a card with breaches. And we exile land, so that was a mistake. Alright. The Tali decks can sometimes be pretty controlling, so opponent could have a board wipe, so I'm not sure if I should play Kamachal here. I do have Guardian Idol. If the opponent plays Italy next turn, I can make it so Italy can't block, and then I'll be doing 5, 9, 13. So well, hope they don't have a board wipe. Alright, opponent hits an untapped land, and as expected, plays Italy. And they hit Goblin Oriflamme and Lukka Bound to Ruin.
I am the ultimate weapon!
Now, Oriflamme's not a problem, but Lukka means that they can either make another blocker or remove one of my creatures. Mind you, if they remove Torbran, oh, they can remove 2 of my creatures.
Crush them.
I think we wait to sacrifice connecting the dots. Mind Stone. Hit Ilhard. Now Kamachal has Menace, but opponent does have a lot of mana and a lot of cards in hand, so they could easily get out more blockers. Tribute to the World Tree is fine. Littermonger. And then Italy could attack Invasion of Zendikar. Alright, they equip Shadow Spear. They're attacking me. So the good news is Glittermonger can't block Hamichal. The bad news is opponent is going up to 16. Goblin Chain Whirler. It's too bad that my mana ramp artifacts all tap for colorless mana. So I can do 3 damage with Chain Whirler. And then have 4 mana for Kamichal. So it would be 6-2. So it would deal 8 damage.
Phyrexia endures.
Opponent blocks Torbran. And we're done here. Alright, Narset Enlightened Master. Not sure how this is going to go. We've got ramp, so I can get Torbran down on turn 3. Not sure if Fires of Mount Doom is going to have a target. But turn 4, we'll be hitting opponent with Feldon and Torbran. And then I've got Embercleave. We've got 3 lands. We're on the play, so we'll try it. And for what it's worth, Cold Steel Heart taps for red. Opponent fetches with Perilous Landscape. Fetches Island. Alright, Contentious Plan. Bergie. We'll get Torbran down. So I can play Bergie and Feldon. Opponent ramps. Plays Resolute Watchdog. think we'll play Fires of Mount Doom, kill Resolute Watchdog. Play Felden. And that way, even if opponent has a board wipe, I've got Fires of Mount Doom as burn. Opponent ramps some more. Okay. So, Embercleave will cost 4. I think we get Embercleave down. Opponent's saying good game, but they're still alive at 3. Alright, Abiding Grace. Can get back Resolute Watchdog. And that's enough for opponent. Well, we lucked out there. I wasn't sure if we were going to win this one, but we got there. Alright, on we go. Alright, on the play, only 2 lands. I do have Karizev and Karlak on 1. Not really happy about facing Tasha Unholy Archmage. Tasha's +1 is really annoying. And this is probably a very controlling deck. So, even if we stick creatures, they're not going to last very long against Tasha's +1. And opponent's probably going to remove them anyway. I think we'll take our free mulligan and try for 3 lands. And maybe see if we can't get some burn for Tasha. Although I don't have a lot. Goblin Chainwhirler is kind of the only way I have that I can think of off the top of my head that directly damages Planeswalkers. Maybe in the festivities. Alright, 4 lands. I've got Ragavan. Solar Transformer on 2, so I can play Torbran on 3. So we'll try this. Of course, as soon as opponent plays Tasha, Ragavan dies to her +1. Could dash Ragavan on 2, but I want to be playing Solar Transformer so I can ramp out Torbran, so I think it's Ragavan on 1. Hope opponent doesn't immediately remove it. Opponent leans with Swamp. Doesn't have immediate removal for Ragavan. We'll attack with Ragavan. Okay, assemble from parts. So I could play Kamichal or Bergie. But then I won't be able to play Torbran until after combat next turn, assuming the opponent doesn't have removal for Regman. So I think the safer bet is to play Solar Transformer. So opponent, the assemble from parts suggests opponent is kind of a reanimator strategy. Opponent plays Island, a second land, gets down Sanguine Soothsayer. I could play Experimental Frenzy. Let's get Torbran down. And then I think we still attack with Regvan, even if opponent trades with the Soothsayer. Opponent takes it. We exile land. Opponent hits their third land. Plays Tireless Angler. Sanguine Soothsayer conjures a Sanguine Bond into the top 15 cards of their library. Alright, Goldspan Dragon. And then Tireless Angler can trade for Regvan. I can play Goldspan Dragon, and then I'll still have the 2 treasures available. We'll attack all. Opponent trades for Regavan. It's their 4th land, plays Tasha.
May the best mage win.
They
It
plus.
is me. Keep your distance, mortals.
Attached with Sanguine Soothsayer. Dragonhawk, eh? Alright, so... Wow, that's really obnoxious. Like, putting a -1/-1 counter on every creature is... That's just so... That's why I hate Tasha. That's overpowered. And that's what you get for Alchemy. Alright, so we're still doing... Let's see, Kamichal. I can pump it up with the treasure I create with Goldspan Dragon. So it'll be 3 or 5. Bergie will be 2, 4. Goldspan will be... So I think... Alright, I think this is still lethal, and it is. Oh! Alright. We beat the overpowered Planeswalker. Alright, on we go. Alright. Shoulder the Apocalypse. An opponent is on the play. We have only 2 lands. We're in the draw, so we're more likely to hit our land drops, and I've got some ramp artifacts. Unfortunately, I don't have any burn spells that deal 5 damage even with Torbran in play. Bone Crusher Giant deals 4 with Stomp. I do have Embercleave, so if I'm able to attack and play Embercleave, I can get through Shouldered, no problem. Opponent also likely to have removal. I think with the ramp, we'll try it. Alright, we draw Cabana faces Kakazan. Unfortunately, I think we have to lead with Fabled Passage, so we can't get Kumano down. Although, that's kind of just as well, since if we played Kumano on 1, we wouldn't be playing a creature on 2 to get the +1/+1 counter. Alright, Diamond Mare is fine. Runaway Steamkin. Still haven't drawn a land. This could be a problem. I can't tell you how many times I've played Brawl where I've kept a hand with 2 lands and then never drawn the 3rd land. Alright. Opponent poisons us. They don't attack with Diamond Mare for some reason. So I could play Torbran. Or Hellrider. I think what we'll do is play Mind Stone, Runaway Steamkin, and Kumano faces the Kakazan. So next turn I can play a creature and put a +1/+1 counter on it. Opponent plays Mirror Convert. They don't hit their 4th land. Alright, so we hit land 4. So we've lucked out. I was worried we were going to miss our land drops, but we've been hitting them. And then opponent could play Shouldered next turn, even if they don't hit a land drop. Put a +1/+1 counter on Torbran. And then I think we stomp Mirror Convert. attack with Steamkin, because they can chump, but they can't trade for it. Chump with Scorpion. And then let's get, oh, hang on. Oh, I shouldn't have attacked with Steamkin. That was a mistake. Because now if I play Bone Crusher Giant, Steamkin dies. Alright, opponent hits their 4th land, play Shouldered. Alright. So I have 4, 5, 6, 9 mana. Alright, so if I attack with these, Embercleave costs 2. And then I have 5 mana, so I can still play Lelia and flash in Embercleave. And then Hellrider is going to do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Exile Sin Prodder, we won't be able to cast that. Shouldered can block Etching and not trade. And then we just Embercleave. Alright. Well, I'm beginning to understand why Torbran is put in the Hell queue. Not really a big fan of that, because I think the other Hell queue commanders are more powerful. But after what we just did, I can kind of see why Torbran is also slotted into that segment of Brawl. On we go. On the play, only 2 lands, but I do have Ragavan on 1. So if opponent can't immediately remove it and doesn't have a blocker on 1, Ragavan is going to start doing some work. And then Feldon on 2 provides some card advantage. Valakut Exploration. And then Chandra is powerful. So I was even saying in the last video that it can be risky to keep a hand with only 2 lands. But I think with the treasures we get from Ragavan, that might help us if we don't hit our land drops. So I think we'll try this. And then the nice thing, Kranko is not a Hell queue commander. Although, alright, turn 1 Ragavan is enough for opponent. We'll take it. On we go. Alright, on the draw, facing Tamiyo, Field Researcher. I almost feel like I shouldn't bother with this match. Tamiyo just seems so obnoxious. Both lands come into play tapped, and I only have 2. Curse of Shaken Faith, Guardian Idol. Guardian Idol is nice, but with only 2 lands, both of which come to play tapped, I'm not able to play it on curve and get Torbran down early anyway. So I think we take our free mulligan. Rising of the Day would be nice with both. Well, Lelia has haste anyway, but then she'd get a buff. Alright, still only 2 lands, but I have Arcane Signet. The lands come to play untapped. Arcane Signet makes red, which is good for Chain Whirler. It's also good because Hazard's Monument doesn't discount Chain Whirler. And I've got Hearthborn Battler and Gold Span Dragon. So we'll try this. And then I really need to draw basically lands. Angrath's Marauder is the opposite of land. That's literally the most expensive card in the deck. Opponent plays Arcane Signet, so with a land, they can play Tameo next turn. And they find said land with Thirsting Roots. Alright, so we draw land. Opponent plays Wizard class. Kind of surprised they didn't play Tameo here. Levels up Wizard class. Runaway Steamkin. So I could play Hazard's Monument and Runaway Steamkin. And then Hazard's Monument discounts Torbran. And then I can discard a card. I think we discard Angrath's Marauders. That would be great to get to, but I think I still need to hit my land drops here. Fall of Galadriel, not a land, so I think we discard File. Alright, Quicksilver Servitor. Alright, excellent. Land. Now the only problem is it's a colorless land, so I can't use it to cast Torbran. But I can cast Torbran and Hearthborn Battler. Or maybe it would be better to play Hearthborn Battler and then Torbran. Because I need Hearthborn Battler and play for it to trigger to deal 2 damage. And I think I do discard File of Galadriel here. And then I don't want to discard anything now, so we'll decline. And then they can trade Quicksilver Servitor for either Steamkin or Battler, so I think we hold off on attacking. Alright, opponent levels up Wizard class, plays Ghostly Prison. That's obnoxious. We draw land, so I guess I could have discarded land, because then we would have drawn this one. So I guess I can discard this land. And if I play Chain Whirler, that kills both of their creatures. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chain Whirler lets me activate Steamkin. So we'll go down to 3, 4, 5, 6, which we'll need to do in order to attack with my creatures. And then I only have 2 mana. And I have to pay it when I declare attackers, so I can't attack with 2 creatures. Goldspan Dragon makes a treasure, and then I sacrifice that to get another attacker in. Alright, really hoping opponent doesn't have a board wipe here. They do. Well, it's a good thing I kept Ragavan in hand then. Alright, we exiled Arming Gala. So, opponent more creature heavy than I expected, but they still had some of the same rubbish that I expected out of a Tamiyo Field Researcher deck like Ghostly Prison and Farewell. Alright, land. I can play Torbran. Opponent didn't play Tamiyo. So they could have interaction. I don't have to sacrifice the treasure to play Torbran. Alright, so I think we'll play Torbran. That resolves, and then I think we keep Ragavan in hand. Has something they can do at instant speed. And we can dash Ragavan on our next turn. Opponent plays Tamiyo.
I am Tamiyo. It is an honor to meet you. Every story is worth listening to.
Alright, they tap down Torbran. Embercleave, you say? They minus Tamiyo, so they're not... I'm not at risk of Tamiyo getting to ultimate immediately. It looks like they have removal for a Ragavan. I think we hold Ragavan to dash. Alright, so they plus
Listen
Tamiyo.
and learn.
Karizev. I didn't realize it was Hall of Storm Giants. I'm surprised they didn't block Torbran. Plays land. Alright, minuses on
I should have
Torbran.
brought more parchment.
Alright, we draw land. Force fruition. If only one of these had haste. Or I had Arena of Glory. But Kevinshal has Menace. So does Karizev. One has Wash Away. That's fine. Alright, so what to keep? We'll keep a land. We'll keep Cemetery Gatekeeper. We'll keep Roiling Vortex. Experimental Frenzy. Toralf's Disciple. Defiler of Instinct. Lelia. Oh no, not. We want to keep Embercleave. So if opponent minuses Tamiyo, she goes back to the command zone. Yep. Opponent is a Tamiyo field researcher desk.
I have our time together is finished. I am glad to help my colleagues.
Okay, they can't activate Hall of Storm Giants. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like opponent can do something at instant speed. So I can play Goblin or a Flam. Pay the 2 for Toralf's Disciple and still play Kumano faces Kakazan. or Roiling Vortex. Alright, so end the festivities, Lightning Bolt, Captain Lannery Storm, Tectonic Hazard, Land, Roiling Vortex, Experimental Frenzy. Opponents at 1. Bird is fine.
I would like to ask about any lunar anomalies you have experienced.
Alright, we draw another Lightning Bolt.
To share.
Well, I am going to kill opponent with great pleasure here. Good riddance. Ugh. Cameo Field Researcher. So annoying, but we got there in the end. Thank goodness. We'll take it. Alright. So that is our Torbran deck. And as you can see, the downside with Torbran is you get paired up against powerful commanders, some of whom are obnoxious, like Tasha or Tamio Field Researcher, or otherwise overpowered. And the other thing, what you didn't see, is that the problem with being in Hell Queue is that it often takes forever to get into a match. And I'm pretty impatient, I have to admit, so it was very frustrating for me waiting to get into matches with Torbran. So with that in consideration, you might want to consider actually building a Torbran deck differently than I did, with more burn and reach, so that you have ways of killing the opponent without necessarily having creatures, because my Torbran deck was a more creature-heavy strategy. We still got the job done, so that's the main thing. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. If you'd like to see another commander from Throne of Eldraine or a commander from a different set, let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe. Have a great one. Bye.